Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age on the GeForce GTX 750 Ti. I'll be doing 1080p, 900p and 720p. To skip none of those sections of the video, check the timestamps down in the description. Thanks to Square Enix for providing a copy of this game. Well, for the 1080p footage, I overclocked the GTX 750 Ti. I added 200 MHz to the core and 400 MHz to the VRAM. On 900p and 720p, the overclock is completely disabled, and unfortunately it was very difficult to maintain 60 frames per second across the whole footage. Even at 720p by using the lowest settings, I had drops below 50 frames per second in some occasions. So yeah, in this case my target was 30 frames per second or over. Sometimes on 1080p and 900p I might drop below 30 when looking very far into the distance. I'll talk more about that in a second. But yeah, this game is very GPU intensive. On a normal PS4 it runs at 900p, so yeah, considering that, it makes sense to get this performance on this card. So personally I will play at 900p with decent settings or 720p with maximum settings in order to maintain decent performance and good visuals, but that's just my opinion. The biggest performance hit so far was in certain places where there's a ton of foliage, plus some unusual draw distances. You'll see that in my footage. Sometimes I stop and look far into the distance in purpose to show you the performance hit. Not a big deal if you ask me, but the performance hit is there, so yeah, be aware of that. As you'll see on all my videos testing this game, I'm only using the G4560. That's because this game is more GPU bound. By using a better CPU, I didn't see any major differences in performance. I just saw some spikes in the CPU usage while traversing through certain areas. It seems that the game is loading the rest of the level if it's a very big section. At that moment you get like 1 or 2 seconds of frame time spikes. The CPU usage goes to 100%, then it goes back down instantly, and it runs the same as I'm showing you here. So yeah, if you have a better CPU, you shouldn't be seeing any major differences. In the options menu, the biggest performance difference I saw was by lowering the shadow quality. You can even turn them off if you want, but I recommend lowering them to 2 or 1 if you're getting performance issues in big areas. This affects the shadow resolution, distance and amount. By lowering it to 2, it already destroys the draw distance of the shadows. In some areas you can see that the shadows are being generated a few meters in front of your character, which really destroys the visuals of the game if you ask me, but it's a massive FPS boost in many cases. Then the post-processing quality, by directly turning that off you get a decent FPS boost, but again this greatly affects the visuals of the game. By turning this option off, the colors look very washed out and there's no ambient occlusion. Mainly the color is what makes it look the worst in that case, but you get a decent FPS boost if you're trying to get higher frame rates. And then on the anti-aliasing quality, I didn't see much of a difference between 1 and the highest. The biggest difference was when it was turned off or turned on, so I recommend you play a little bit with that. From 1 to the highest, there wasn't a huge performance difference, maybe 1 or 2 frames. But yeah, that's pretty much the options menu. I highly recommend you use vsync, but from the Nvidia control panel, the adaptive vsync. That's because the vsync in this game is very aggressive, so if you're close to maximum GPU usage, sometimes the game can stutter a little bit. Just use the Nvidia control panel for that. And unfortunately, the game is capped at 60 frames per second. You can control the frame rate target in the options menu. So the usual options for Unreal Engine 4 games, shadows and post-processing are the biggest impacts, but in this case usually destroy the aesthetics of the game. Personally, I don't think you need to play this at 60 frames per second. This game is turn-based, so you're not actually doing precise aiming or doing very fast battles like on a Dark Souls game. So in this case, between 30 and 60 I don't really mind too much. So in my opinion, just crank up the settings, enable vsync, so you get the best visuals. And that's pretty much my opinion on the matter. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Ha! Another one bites the... Ha! Nice! Who else wants some? Ha! Easy. Another one bites the dust.